Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So, a bunch of legendary items have been data mined, but before we get into this video, I want to say a few things. First of all, their changes are all within the context of the Legion class changes, the Legion abilities, and the Legion talents. Plus, the devs have already tweeted that quite a lot of the stuff here is, scrapped ideas, things which don't exist anymore. It's data mining, might not all, be actually in the game, probably will all be tweaked and balanced, so take this with, I'd say, at least 18.5 truckloads of salt, and good salt, Himalayan rock salt, no fucking around, but take it with a grain of salt at least. So, let's just go through this. Now, I'm going to try to do this a little bit quicker. Last time I did this video, it was 35 minutes long, and it was a bit ridiculous. So we're just going to go through this quick fire. Starting off with the Soulcaster. Teleport to the location of a friendly player within 50 yards. Now, think about how this could be extremely useful. As an example, now this is more of a caster item, but if you were a caster that's going off and doing a particular job within a raid, which involves going far away and soaking something, far away and doing something, you just click on your Soulcaster and pop, you're back in the raid. This could also be used for some RNG purposes to try to get to a position in a raid. It's an interesting item, but because of its RNG, it's going to be of limited value unless you're in an edge case where you can pretty much guarantee that the only friendly people within 50 yards will be in a location that is favorable for you. So it could be useful in that. Next, you've got the Grove Walkers. When you are stationary, deep roots seep into the ground for 3 seconds, giving you 50,000 healing. That's probably a data mine weird number. Healing every 3 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. Basically, you get a massive hot when you're standing still. That's really powerful. Really, really, really powerful. I've got to imagine that's going to be far less powerful in terms of the raw numbers, but still, pretty crazy idea. Fun fact, while recording this, I was fiddling around with a knife in my hand, and I just sliced my thumb. GG. Anyway, blood aside, let's talk about the King's Hands. This gives you another talent, basically. Or if, it gives you another particular talent, or if you already have that talent, it gives that more charges, more duration, whatever, makes it more powerful. Holy crap, that just sounds OP and a little bit crazy. One of the examples here is anger management for the warriors, based on how the warrior talents are already. It seems like having anger management plus anything else in that current tier is a little bit OP, so yeah, what's that going to be paired with in Legion? That seems a bit weird. And next we've got the Maelstrom Gauntlets. This increases the range of your Storm Strike by 20 seconds. Now, Storm Strike is a melee ability normally, which basically means it's like a Paladin's Judgment. So I guess that's something. Next, the Bramble Helm of Shaladrisil. This gives you additional healing based on the healing received by your allies who are around you, and it gives it to you in the form of a hot. Again, that just is more free healing. I don't know, it seems like this is going to be doing the job of the healers. A little bit strange. I'd also like to point out that a lot of these are leather, but it seems like some of their effects would, cover other classes and things like that which aren't wearing leather. I'm assuming that's just a data mining glitch. Next up, the Essence Accelerant. This will reduce the cost of Thrash by 20 seconds. What does this mean? Well, you can fit more Thrashes into your rotation per whatever amount of seconds you want to count. I don't know how that class is going to be playing in Legion, so we're going to have to wait and see, but certainly it sounds like something that would change up how your overall rotation plays out, because you'll be able to squeeze in more of those than you normally would be able to. Next, Vergis, Protectors of the Berserker Kings. This increases the duration of Stagger by 40%. Now, Stagger is being changed in Legion, so I'm not sure how that's going to actually affect the complete gameplay, but that seems extremely powerful. Next, we've got Thorn Braces. Whenever you dodge, parry, or block an incoming attack, your next auto attack does 150% damage. Basically, free damage. If you're building towards any of those things, even more free damage. It doesn't seem to involve much skill, though. I don't think there's much gameplay in it. It's just free stats. Next, the Guillotine Grips. This means that Essence Font can be cast while moving, which just seems needlessly powerful. It was a bit needless, I think. Next, we've got Draugr, Helm of the Everlasting King and the worst enemy ever to grace a Bethesda game. You continue to fight while under Aspect of the Turtle. I have no idea what Aspect of the Turtle is. It's probably something new. I've never heard of it. I've just been living under a rock or living under a turtle, but hey, I'm sure it's interesting. Next, Notched something, Footpads of the Deft Assassin. Your attacks have a chance to reveal a weakness in the opponent's defense. So this is pretty awesome. While attacking from its weak side, you deal more damage to the target. Now, that is really cool. And I almost think that should be a rogue mechanic, that the whole rogue is, or I don't know, a rogue talent that is balanced around rather than something on an item, because that does seem very powerful. There will be times in a boss fight where you can't use it because you need a stack or something like that, but still, That's a little bit mental. Next, the Canair Gauntlets. Every time you enrage, you gain 20 rage, so you get more stats, or more rage even, which means you've got more to play with, more to spend. So more damage, more defense. It's all good, I suppose. Again, that's more stats for free. Next, Cannibal's Fervor. Life tap increases your leech by 5% for 10 seconds, and that can stack up to 3 times. That's a DK ability that gives you leech, so basically you use life tap and then you do a bunch of damage and you get more heals. Again, just needlessly powerful, I think. Next, we've got the Hogber, or something like that. Upon taking fatal damage, you are returned to full health, but deal 40% less damage and healing for 30 seconds. So this is strange. It's another combat res within a raid. Yes, it has a downside, and that is a pretty major downside, but overall, that's OP as balls. That's crazy, and it can occur once every 3 minutes. This means in the course of a 9-minute fight, a player with this could die 3 times and be just dandy. Sure, they wouldn't have a great parse, but still, that's super powerful. Next, we've got the Coiled Ley Lines. You have 20% avoidance while casting. Yawn, boring. Next, let's move on to Sinadara. Your special attack critical strikes have a chance to increase the haste of you and a nearby ally by 40% for 6 seconds. So basically, you just have a chance to be given a short heroism. Okay, please. Next, Time Shifters, and it also affects somebody else, which, I mean, that's cool for the other person, but there's a lot of RNG going on there in a raid environment. Next, Time Shifters. Standing still for 8 seconds gives you Foresight, which lets you cast spells while moving for 4 seconds. That could be really cool, because if you know you have a movement phase, I don't know, maybe if 8 seconds in Imperator Margok was enough, then you would be able to cast while you're moving from, one mine to the other, which is pretty cool. I can see healers chaining this together. I don't know, maybe being able to do that, like, rejuvenation trick that people were able to do with Aspect of the Fox. So that seems like it could be OP in the right hands. Next, the Star of Norganon. This will increase the radius and damage of flame strikes by 25%, or make it so that when Seeds of Corruption detonates, the area is also creates a detonation at your location, which basically means double Seeds of Corruption. That's kind of interesting, and just more powerful flame strikes for free, because YOLO, right? Balance, haha. Next, the Vestments of Wu Chi. Casting a spell has a chance to call down the Light of Anshi at a nearby location. Enemies, or allies even, standing in that light will gain 15% haste and 15% spell cost reduction split amongst everyone who is affected. Now that last bit, split amongst all affected players, is the key thing here. Initially I thought, wow, this is like, I don't know, say that mechanic in the Constructs in the Neltharion raid, where, everyone would just barrel and not get loads of haste, do loads of damage, and it was really fun. But because it's split between people, it's going to be, I think, less useful overall, but still, it's the sort of thing maybe that it would be up, and, I don't know, more healing was needed or something, you just pop a healer in it. Again, not sure about its exact usage, and also it is random, so it's going to be less useful overall, but still a pretty crazy effect. Next, Storm Tempests. This means that Arcane Barrage does damage to an additional enemy per charge of arcane power expended. So think about this. You're doing Arcane Barrage with 5 charges. It's already doing loads of damage. Multiply that by 5. That's a lot of deeps. Next, Fate Bender. Ice Barrier may be cast while casting other spells. So basically, if you're mid-cast and you want to do an Ice Barrier, well, this will let you do that. It also means that Life Tap may be cast while casting other spells. So basically, just gives you more options there, I suppose. I mean, that's pretty useful, but it's not going to break anything, I think. Next, Smolderweave. This means that the damage caused by... Next, we have Smolderweave. This means the damage caused by Pyroblast gives 200% increased contribution to Ignite. This just means your Ignite generation is, contributions are way more throughout your entire rotation, meaning that, well, I don't know exactly how far it's going to play in Legion, but that just seems kind of crazy. It seems, again, like it's really transforming the core rotation a bit. Next, we have the Arcan Star. This means Chain Lightning deals 50% increased damage each time it jumps to a new enemy. Each time! What? That means your Chain Lightnings are going to be super powerful. Your AoE is going to be mad, though I suppose there will be the question, do you Earthquake or do you Chain Lightning? What will the balance of all that stuff be? Though I suppose Chain Lightning is always, it's going to be a useful filler within that, so yeah, that's just more damage for free. I mean, hey, balance, what? Ridiculous. Next, Nether Prism. Casting Pyroblast reduces the cooldown of combustion by 3 seconds, and taking damage that you take is reduced by 30% while channeling Drain Life. So dual usage there for 2 different classes. Slash specs anyway, because Pyroblast isn't exactly a frost thing. This is just giving you more default power, I suppose. That's really cool for the Drain Life, like super powerful. And for Pyroblast, that's just going to change up your rotation again. Next, Amos of the Dreamweaver. Star Surge deals 35% increased damage to enemies affected by both Sunfire and Moonfire, so if you're playing balance right, you'll have both of your dots up, and you'll just get free damage. Okay, I like how it's emphasizing playing the spec right, but 35% increased damage to one of your most powerful spells? What are you smoking? Next, the Dream Burrows, or something like that, spawn seeds at a nearby location every 12 seconds. The seeds grow for 6 seconds before blooming, and when they bloom, they will heal all allies within 10 yards. So this is just free healing. And next, the Shroud of Ysera. Star Surge deals 35% increased damage to enemies affected by both Sunfire and Moonfire. It's the same as the Amos of the Dreamweaver, it's just free deeps. Next, the Martyred Chain. This one, I think, is really cool. Drain 110% of your maximum health over 10 seconds, but gain 0%, or something percent even, haste and leech. So basically, you take damage, but you deal more damage, and because you get more leech and more haste, you're able to heal that damage back a little bit. Yes, you could kill yourself with this, but combining this with your other cooldowns is going to mean super damage. Next, the Sparklight Stompers. This means the charge will just leave behind a fiery trail, and that fiery trail will deal damage to enemies who walk inside it. Yeah, so it's just more free damage, but that doesn't seem particularly useful other than some very specific circumstances. Next, Stormwing. This means that when you cast Healing Rain, a second Healing Rain is summoned at your own feet. So basically, double Healing Rains all the way across the sky. If you are in one stack and you target another range stack, then you have 2 Healing Rains for double the healing. Okay. Next, Ears. I think that's how you'd pronounce that. I don't know. Or Years or something. They're tier. So your critical strikes spawn a tier at a target location that will travel towards you, and when it hits you, you gain haste, and the cost of your spells is reduced for a certain amount of seconds. So this is just like free buffs, and I suppose you could walk into the tier early rather than just let it hit you if you wanted to get that effect a little bit earlier. Next, the Earthwarder Scale. This means that your single target heals will give Lasting Connection, which is a buff that increases the healing done to that target by 5%, stacking up to 5 times for a total eventually of 25%, but it's reset if you heal a different target. Now, what this means overall is for like super main tank heals, this is great, but you're going to be breaking that Lasting Connection quite a lot. Still, 25% more heals to a target. That's pretty massive in terms of its impact on throughput. Next up, the Cursed Burden. While you have an Absorb or a Hot on you, on somebody, 3% of the damage they take is reflected. That's super powerful. Now, if you have got a Hot on like everybody, or something like that, this is going to reflect a lot of cumulative damage back at the boss. Gotta wonder what that's going to be like in terms of its effect on DPS. Next, Aman'Thul's Stride. So when a non-tank ally within 40 yards of you takes melee damage, you gain 100% movement speed for 4 seconds. I'm not sure about the utility of this. Normally a non-tank person shouldn't be getting a direct melee strike from a tank. Maybe they're going to get it from a ad, so if you're a tank who is wearing this, and a bunch of ads come in, hit one of your people, you'll be able to run there faster. But if you're a warrior, you can charge, or something like that, so I guess it's maybe useful if you're a DK and the mob isn't like, Gorfine's Graspable or Death Grippable or something. Next, the Gilded Wings. Your healing crits have a chance to summon a Valkyr to aid your target, which will damage nearby foes, and then heal your target based on a portion of the damage that the Valkyr does. Basically, it's free heals again. That you don't have to do anything for that, it just literally is free heals. Next, Soul Weave. This means that your heals apply Eternal Warrior for 8 seconds. And listen to this, if a player with Eternal Warrior dies, 20% of your remaining mana is consumed, but they are returned to full health. That means, if you're healing the tank has Eternal Warrior, the tank drops because they fucked up something, or you fucked up something, and boom, the tank's back. That seems OP, and it's effectively another combat res, so we'll just add that to the pile of combat reses that exist. Sounds crazy. Next, the Shackles of Bjornador, or something like that. Your Marrow Rend gives you 20% leech for 6 seconds. That's a little bit boring. Next, Destiny Drivers. Your Last Stand and Shield Wall recharge up to 50% faster, based on the amount of health you have missing. Now obviously this is going to be really good in a clutch situation, but you're not really going to want to game this because that's going to involve playing a game where you're sacrificing your health, which isn't really the gameplay that a tank should be doing unless they want to specifically stress out their healers. Next, the Crown of Helheim. Avenging Wrath generates 1 holy power per second. That's really powerful. That makes Avenging Wrath so much more powerful because it means you'll be able to do Final Verdict so much more as Ret. It turns it into a crazy good overall cooldown. Of course, Holy Power is no longer a mechanic for any of the other Paladin specs, only for Retribution. Next, Collar of the Lifebinder. So 50% of the damage you take for the next 6 seconds is split amongst nearby enemies 10 yards around you, and this is on you. So basically, it's another survival cooldown. That's a lot to add to your toolkit, I suppose, and I guess there are some instances where that could be really used to game mechanics. Really used indeed to game mechanics. Odd, yes, some of these are so powerful. Next, we've got the Nightmare Strands. Your taunts last 15 seconds, and they increase all damage that you deal to the affected target by 10%. Does that mean taunts lasting 15 seconds, so something is literally constantly taunted for 15 seconds and it's just stuck on you? I'm not 100% sure, I don't tank normally, but it's basically just free damage and a better taunt. Next, the Hetzel Stone. You've got a 10% chance to ignore any damage taken. That could come in extremely useful, or it could just proc at the complete wrong time and be useless, but still, big potential for power there. Next, the Platinum Repose. Restore a dead target to life with 60% health and 20% mana, usable in combat. That's just another combat res to add to the pile of combat reses. Is that going to share a cooldown with our current combat res pool? I don't know. I really hope it does, or else it's a little bit crazy. Next, we've got the Mantle of Ash the Deer. So this charms an enemy creature with less max health than you in a raid context. Doesn't really matter. In terms of gameplay in the world, yeah, that's pretty damn fun. I like it. Next, the Cord of the Nightborn. So when you are above 75% health, the cast time of your heal, flash heal, and Holy Word Serenity is reduced by 20%. So basically, keep yourself healed up, and you're going to be doing more heals, and more flash heals, and more Holy Word Serenities, and because your heals and your flash heals reduce the cooldown of Holy Word Serenity, you're going to be doing even more of those. It just means it's a very big buff to the priests, very big buff indeed, so that's good if you're holy. Next, there's the Star of Norganon. Your instant cast spells have a chance to trigger Foresight, which allows your next spell to be cast while moving. Again, that is pretty damn powerful. What was in my head is the idea of a Disc Priest that's spreading Atonement via its like pretty cheap instant heal, and then using that to do something like Shadow Man while they walk around the place. Could be pretty useful, but the RNG element does limit that usability, and you'd have to wonder how long that buff would actually remain on you. Actually, no, I suppose it is just the next spell you cast. Yeah, not useful because you can't really plan around it to a great degree. Next, Vermund's Beads of Great Convergence. Your overtime effects have a chance to trigger their full remaining value every time they tick. So if you've got a dot on the target, every time it ticks, it's got a chance of doing all the damage it would do in the rest of its duration instantly, and then it'll just continue on ticking. That makes dots insane. That on a dot-based class is going to be insane. Insanity. Ridiculousness. And it's a ring that works with any stat, so anyone's going to be able to wear it. Next, the Mantle of Flames. All enemies within 5 yards of you suffer 5,000 fire damage per second. So that's just free damage, and because it is a strength item, you're probably going to be in melee range anyway, so just literally free damage. You don't even have to try. Next, the Boots of Wondrous Rapidity. Your speed is increased by a portion of your haste. Wonderful, that just means you run around faster. Now, there are raid contexts where that's super powerful. I remember back in Cataclysm, loads of raid guilds switching Worgen for their on use. I remember that being a thing, so one's got to wonder how much people will be wanting these boots. Next, we've got the Hidden Master's Forbidden Hand Wraps. If Touch of Death doesn't kill a target, they will suffer that Touch of Death again every 30 seconds until they die. It's free Touch of Deaths because Touch of Death does a lot of damage. That's just lots of free damage, so hurrah if you're a monk, I suppose. And then next, we've got the Pauldrons of the Golden Valkyr. Every enemy hit by Avenger's Shield reduces the cooldown of Guardian of Ancient Kings by 4 seconds. That sounds really awesome and actually pretty fun and rewarding. I like the idea of it. And then next, we've got Wilfred's Hood of Superior Summoning. The cast time of all of your demon summoning is removed. Gone. Nada. Zilch. And all your demons do 20% more damage. What? I mean, technically, most of the damage that a Demonology Warlock will do is demon damage. Is this just like, hey, Demonology Warlocks, 20% more damage, go have fun with that? That just seems like too much. Oh dear, and then next we've got the Halo of the Ebon Martyr. The duration of renew is increased by 100%. Basically, it means it does double the heals overall, and whenever it attempts to heal a target who is not injured, its duration is extended by 3 seconds, so it just keeps on ticking and ticking and ticking and ticking and ticking. That just makes renew so powerful. Well, powerful, yes, but also just very, very good value. You want to apply that all over the place if you have this item. So overall, now that we're through that, and in slightly better time than the last time I recorded this video, what do I think? Oh man, you can probably tell by my kind of slightly exasperated tone going through that I am very skeptical of a lot of this. First of all, loads of these are ideas that they have tried and scrapped internally. They have been data mined. Blizzard are always working multiple builds ahead of what's up on the servers. If there's something about this that is making any of us particularly irate, I would suspect that it's probably been fixed, but what we can talk about is design mentality here. So, lots of the more powerful things here should be talents, as far as I'm concerned. It seems like they just designed loads of talents, couldn't fit half of them in because, hey, it's the mop-style system, so they just threw them all in these bits of gear. Some of them just sound OP. OP to the point where they actually are going to legitimately have a major problem with raiding. They're adding in mechanics that will unbalance things. More combat reses! What's that going to do to a mythic race? What's that going to do to any raiding group who is in any way slightly competitive? If one team can make X amount more mistakes per fight, it means they can do better while being worse. And that is fundamentally something that I do not agree with whatsoever in terms of game design. You should never be able to do better by being a worse, or just, by playing worse. It just seems like some of these items are very, very bizarre in their conception. Now, what they do seem brilliant at is adding in some fun, crazy gameplay into the world of Legion, and a big, big thing they want in Legion is the world to be good. Now, if you think about it, you've got crazy legendaries in Diablo 3, and then you just romping around the world doing shit, doing rifts, doing bounties and adventures and all that stuff. They want that for World of Warcraft's regular game. The balance perspective of things, though, and how that affects raiding, like that is the point where WoW and Diablo 3 really are at odds with each other and are just completely different games that require completely different designs. These feel like Diablo 3 style legendaries in every way. And I think it's just too much to be putting onto an item, so I would almost have to wonder whether the effects of these are going to be disabled in raids. But here's the thing, if they're not disabled in raids, then they are very, very, very high item level items. And according to Blizzard, they, in terms of power, will be relevant throughout the expansion. So, yeah, even without the crazy effects, they're still a crazy big stat stick. Like, basically having another legendary ring that just doesn't do the effect. Which is, that's what the legendary ring is up until the point where it's legendary, I suppose. But everyone gets that, and there's one, so it's balanced overall. It just seems like if you're a raider, like, if this stuff exists and you're a raider who wants to do well, boy, you better be farming these, because without them, you're going to be at a big disadvantage in comparison to the people who do have these things. It just overall, I'm a bit baffled, and honestly, much of the things here feel like they should be talents, or they should be trivial fun things that are only active outside of raids, or maybe outside of raids or challenge mode dungeons. Maybe let the heroic dungeons and the normal dungeons and the world content be a little bit naff and crazy, but when it comes into the stuff that really matters, I don't think stuff like this should be as crazy as it is. Another concern is what this does to DPS. Loads of these have big RNG elements, and already players are not particularly happy that so much of your DPS variance is, varied from pool to pool. Now, yes, overall, if there were no cooldowns, your DPS would be consistent because of the law of averages, but from fight to fight, that's not the case, because you've got different things proccing at different times while you've got big cooldowns and loads of things overlapping. For an example, if you're a BM hunter and you have your Bestial Wrath proc its thing multiple times during during any big period of loads of like raid-wide cooldowns or whatever going on, you're going to do way more DPS, and that is down to randomness. This is adding further layers to that, which I do not like. So I suppose we can't say a lot here, and we do need to see what Blizzard say overall. I am concerned. I think this stuff's great for the world, but I don't think it has a place in challenge mode dungeons or raids, and I think it is quite obvious that these will not be a thing in PvP, because if they were, that would just break PvP. Okay, that's been it for this video. I know it's been a bit of a long one. I wanted to go through this in a bit more of a personable way than just kind of rattling it all off in like 2 minutes. via script. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments. I'm a little bit concerned, a little bit excited for what it does to the world content, but overall, we really need to hear from the horse's mouth in regards to their specific plans with these. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I'll see you later.